May 28 is World Hunger Day with the aim to focus on the food crisis across the globe. The number of people facing severe levels of hunger has risen from 16.1 million in 2019 to 25.3 million in the 8 worst affected countries. That is an increase of close to 57%. Children in poverty are most at risk. Save the Children's Regional Advocacy and Campaigns Manager, Malama Mwila, joins me live now from Zambia. Thank you, Malama, so much for joining us. They're big numbers. We just saw earlier thousands fleeing from war-torn Sudan. Other drivers include the conflict in Ukraine and also climate change with these big numbers and so many people in poverty and hunger.
Yes, no, thank you very much for having me on the program, and I definitely agree with you. And in terms of the analysis that has been done, that the numbers are getting worse in terms of the number of people who are affected by the hunger crisis, and we've seen in the past 2 years really that as an organization, Save the Children has noted with concern, the deadly combination of the COVID-19 pandemic, the conflict, the climate change as well, destroying livelihoods, and of course being the leading drivers of the hunger crisis. So this is really a very big problem, and we want to see a situation where these things are addressed. So if you look at it from a global perspective, you see millions of children in the world's most fragile contexts, such as Yemen, Lebanon, Syria, among others, at risk of illness or even death due to hunger. And you come a bit more closer to my region here, you have countries like Sudan and the Sahel as well, where the ongoing conflict has continued to hinder access to food. And in the Horn of Africa in particular as well, millions of people, over about 40 million people, and in particular about 20 million children in Kenya, Somalia, and Ethiopia are suffering extreme hunger, and it's leading obviously to severe acute malnutrition, especially for children. So Save the Children is very concerned about this, global crisis. But my conversation with you this morning, localizing it to the Horn of Africa as well, as a challenge that needs to be addressed by global leaders immediately and not any moment later.
And in Somalia alone, for example, they had the worst drought in 40 years, brought on by 5 failed rainy seasons, decimated livestock, pushed the country to the brink of famine. Are you satisfied with what the world leaders are pledging in terms of money?
No, we're definitely not satisfied, and I don't think any agency or organization that is responding to this crisis is satisfied with the level
investment and pledges that have been made. Recently, the United Nations held a conference to try and get pledges to respond to this crisis, and out of the targeted $7 billion that was needed, only a partly 2.4 billion was pledged, and so therefore this is something that requires more commitment from global leaders. We want to see more funding directed towards supporting immediate needs that have come across as a result of the drought, and in more recent times as well, in parts of Somalia and Ethiopia, floods as well, which have destroyed even the little livelihoods that people might have managed to save in the past 6 or 5 rainy seasons that the region has experienced. So world leaders are not doing enough, and we are calling for more funding to support, the hunger crisis, but also in thinking through, we want to see more sustainable investments as well in early warning systems to prepare, better for these major crises, so that not just the present generations, but future generations as well are supported to avert these risks that, children and adults are facing. We also keep on demanding for governments and international communities as well to tackle the root causes of the crisis by addressing the ever-widening gap as well between the rich and the poor, the global climate emergency, and the broken food system in the world. We can protect children and communities from future shocks that risk pushing them into poverty and extreme hunger.